Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts, and I'm excited to introduce you to a new podcast series in partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College. Having provided higher education and career training for the past half-century, LFCC is tightly interwoven into the fabric of the Northern Shenandoah Valley and Piedmont regions. Join me every week for conversations with current and former students to hear their funny and inspiring stories as we learn about their journey to higher education, the role that LFCC has played, where they are now, and where they plan to go. We'll also talk to current and former professors about their experiences and best memories of LFCC over the past 50 years. Get every single episode as they're released on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for LFCC Stories. Hello and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Thursday as you are listening to the show today. It is LFCC Day on the Zoom screen. We have, of course, pre-recorded our conversation today with Chris Coots. He is the provost at Fauquier Campus, Lord Fairfax Community College, and vice president of communications and planning. Chris, thanks for taking some time to meet up with me on the Zoom screen today. I appreciate it.
That's my pleasure, Janet.
So I understand we're going to talk today about the name change for the college. So let's start at the beginning. Can you explain to me how this decision even came up, how the discussion started for changing the name for Lord Fairfax Community College?
Yeah, certainly. So we're, as a community college, we're one of 23 colleges that are part of the community college system, the VCCS, Virginia Community College System. And this past summer, the State Board for Community Colleges, which regulates and is in charge of all the colleges, asked each of the colleges to look at their name and look at whether the name of the college reflects the current values, the mission of those colleges. So it was a fairly simple question, but it prompted a lot of investigation. So, of course, our board, our local board at Lord Fairfax, which is made up of representatives from all the counties and the city of Winchester, together started a process of looking at the namesake of our college, and finding out a little bit more history about Thomas VI, Lord Fairfax, as well as, what is our mission? What are our values as a college? Very, very fascinating conversation. Very easy to kind of summarize it in talking points, but at the end of that discussion, after a look at the history and of Lord Fairfax, the board decided at that point that no, that name does not represent our current mission, which is to serve students. We focus on students who, many of whom are coming to college, their first generation. They haven't had somebody in their family join the college before. Maybe it's students who at another university and they come in the summer to take an organic chemistry class or anatomy and physiology. Maybe it's somebody who wants to get a certification or learn a trade or a skill. That's what we exist for, is to help people. And really the name Lord Fairfax does not reflect that mission. Once they had made that kind of answered that simple question, then the next question is, well, what do you do, right? Do you change the name? And of course, that's where a lot of discussion, a lot of research into the name as a brand. And I could go on a little bit longer, just about how we came to that decision to, yes, now we're going to find a new name. Um, Back in just a little bit of history, but back in 1969, when we started as a college, we were the Region 15 community college. Um, our local board then had proposed the name Lord Fairfax to the state board. Well, the state board sent it back twice, maybe three times, to say, please find another name. That name is confusing. It is not clear. Um, our board at the time decided, after looking at it again, they resubmitted it a few times. And the last time they made the argument that the local planning district had named itself Lord Fairfax, and so therefore, as long as we kept the name Lord in there, that it would be fine. Well, of course, the Lord Fairfax Planning District changed their name in 2001 for the very same reason, that it was confusing. So, that's what we found out this fall when we did a brand study. We found that people are confused by the name. Are we in Fairfax County? Are we not in Fairfax County? They're confused by it sounded a little old-fashioned. As the marketing folks told us, it's a weak brand. It doesn't tell people about what you do. It certainly has historical significance. So, and I don't think anyone wants to erase that or deny that, but it doesn't talk to what we do as an organization. So that was a lot of research into that, and ultimately a lot of factors, but that was kind of behind the decision.
And Lord Fairfax wasn't some great educator. It's not like he had dedicated his life to education and furthering education. There wasn't even that connection. It made sense, kind of, I guess, at the time, that the planning district would be named after him because he owned so many acres and he was an architect of sorts of his time. But yeah, I can see where it's like, okay, well, I get the land and the geography connection to it, but there really wasn't a connection from an education perspective. So it kind of did make sense to take a second look at it.
That's correct. There is, at least in terms of our community college as we exist, there's no connection. There's no donation of land or education legacy that speaks to what we do. Now, the the history is interesting, and I think one of the original board members said, "Well, this name is reminds us of colonial history, so it's got a link," um, and that's absolutely fine and appropriate at that time. But right now, we're looking at at the innovation that we provide, the high quality instruction we provide, and recognizing that that name doesn't speak to that. It doesn't invite or welcome people by telling them what it is that we do or why we do it.
This is, there's never really good timing for any decision of this magnitude, but this couldn't be better timing, quite frankly, because you're celebrating your 50th year this year. You're looking ahead to the next 50. What that name represents aside, it would be time for any other business to be stopping and taking a hard look at, okay, so here's where we've come, here's where we're going. Do we need to freshen it up and, kind of do something new and fresh moving forward? So the timing kind of helped you a little bit, I think.
Yeah, we celebrated our 50th year. We opened in 1970. So this academic year, the fall and through the spring is starts the next 50th year. We have, as you said, we're working on strategic planning, which is our plan and our what are our goals for the next 5 years, the next 50 years? Where do we want to be? Who do we serve? How do we do better? And this is part of that. This is part of what every organization does. the 50th year was just a wonderful chance to look back, to look at some of our first students, our students through the generations, to reconnect with alumni, with professors and staff members who've worked through the decades at the college. And we've really enjoyed and celebrated that, and been sharing pictures and photos and timelines of that. And that's important. But the next question is, what do the next 50 years look like? And all organizations do that, and do that periodically. So it is wonderful timing. Wonderful opportunity. When else do you get the chance to reintroduce yourself? I understand it comes at a politically charged time, when, and that's real, and those are real conversations that people are having. But that's not something that we as a community college can control and be part of. All that we can do is look at our plans and our students and our mission and speak to that. And so
let's take a quick break. When we come back, can we talk for a few minutes on what the process is going to be for determining what the new name might be, and a timeline for when that decision might be made? Can we do that in the next segment?
Sounds good.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation on the Zoom screen with Chris Coots. He is the provost for Fauquier Campus, Lord Fairfax Community College, and vice president of communications and planning. We're going to talk more about the name change for the college when we come back in just a couple of minutes.
Got a financial decision to make or a goal to reach, but you don't know where to start? You've come to the right place. Introducing Quick Money Chats with the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program. Visit tinyurl.com/quickmoneychat to schedule a virtual chat with a staff member or trained volunteer. We won't tell you what to do, but we will give you the tools you need to choose wisely. And because Virginia Cooperative Extension is part of Virginia Tech and Virginia State, your land-grant universities, you can be sure that our information is credible and trustworthy. And you'll know that we aren't trying to sell you something. Maybe you want to improve your credit score, or reduce your banking overdraft fees, or even figure out if you can afford to buy that car. Sorting through tons of information on the internet can be overwhelming, and sometimes it can be hard to know who to trust. Schedule a Quick Money Chat and get the information you need to take action. Go to tinyurl.com/quickmoneychat and get financial education personalized for you.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Thursday. As you are listening to the show today, it is Lord Fairfax Community College Day, LFCC Day. On the Zoom screen, we are pre-recording our conversation with Chris Coots. He is Lord Fairfax Community College Fauquier Campus Provost and the Vice President of Communications and Planning. We've been talking about the name change that's coming down the pike for the college. And Chris, we talked a little bit in the first segment about how that decision was determined, what the background of it was, and some things that you guys are considering. What's going to be the process for deciding what this new name is going to look like? How's that going to work?
So we'll take the next couple of months. With the goal is to come up with a name and a backup name, and I'll tell you why we need a backup by the summer, to be able to recommend to the State Board of Community Colleges in late summer. So working backwards, we have formed a task force, which is a group that includes members of the community, alumni, faculty, staff, current students, and others. And that group is currently forming and working to develop, let me just call them the criteria, but what do we want in a name? And let me give you an example of that. A lot of colleges are named after individuals, right? And Lord Fairfax was named after an individual. So what we want to do is talk that through and decide, are we going to consider individuals, or do we want something that speaks to our geography of where we are in this beautiful region in the northern part of Virginia, the Valley or the Piedmont, and the mountains. So do we want a geographic name, or do we want a name that reflects some characteristic about ourselves? You might have heard of Full Sail University or Liberty University. Those are reflect a concept or an idea that's important. So this group will kind of set the framework or the criteria for what we're looking at. And once we have that, we'll open it up to hear suggestions and ideas from all across our region. We'll have forums where we gather those ideas, as well as a web page where folks can suggest, send their suggestion and their ideas. We are already receiving some suggestions.
I can imagine.
and that's really exciting. I love that creativity, and I love, every once in a while you hear something and go, oh, that's great.
Well, and it also speaks to the way that people in our community feel connected and like they have a buy-in to the college, that they want to be able to play some role in what the new name is. It really does kind of speak to how well Lord Fairfax Community College has become part of our community over the last 50 years.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. That is that's what's been so I guess so inspiring, and one of the positive things that we've learned through this experience is people care so much. They might not come to the same decisions that I come to, and that's great. That's higher education. We all agree. We all agree to disagree, I guess. But the fact that people are invested and they are engaged and they do have ideas, and we do want to hear that. That is really important to us as we move forward. The one thing we know as well, and anytime an organization changes a name, is some people get excited about it, but for a lot of us, it's something new, and that sounds weird, that's strange, that's terrible. How did you come up with that? So you've got to, in some ways, you got to live with an idea and try it on, sleep on it for a couple of nights to see if it still sticks. So there is a process of going through, gathering ideas, asking people, what do you think? Maybe getting some, that sounds terrible, but let me think about it. And that's why it takes a couple of months. It would be easy enough for us to just say, this is it, and we're going with it. But we do want, we do know that process, it's a process of trying ideas on and seeing what fits based on the criteria that this task force is talking about.
Well, it's very similar to, they say, when you buy a house with the intention of, say, redoing your kitchen, the recommendation is live with it for a year before you start tearing down walls and replacing things, because you really do need to kind of live with what you've got to get settled in and know what's going to work and what's not. It's kind of the same thing. You just got to kind of let it sink in and settle a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. And knowing that once we come up with a name and recommend it to the state board, and they approve that, it'll still be several months before that change actually becomes official, because then at that point you've got to do a little bit of work and change your website and change your logo and all of that. And
that's not a cheap process either. That's something that I think it makes sense to point out to those who may not understand everything that's involved. I mean, it's not going to be as simple as saying, this is the new name that we have chosen. There are marketing materials, there are building signs, there are websites, there are, so many things that are going to have to completely get changed and reprinted and redone. I mean, this is not a small investment that you're going to make moving forward either.
It's not, but it's also an incredible opportunity when you're going through strategic planning, as we are as an organization. You're thinking about the next few years, the next 50 years, the opportunity to uh, let the people who need us the most know what it is we do, to reintroduce ourselves to the community, to help people better understand what it is that the community college offers. Um, we have outreach folks, we have marketing people, and they're doing this job all the time. So, but but the effort that it takes to, like you say, to come up with a new name, that is it's a lot of time, but it's also, and I do want to make this point. It's also an opportunity to do some things differently, and to think about our operations. Do we need, do we need to print thousands and thousands of copies of letterhead, or can we think about operations virtually? And I think this COVID experience has taught us that there are some things that we want to get back in person as fast as possible, but there are some things that we can do a little bit differently to make our operations more efficient. And so I see it as both an opportunity, but a lot of work.
So you mentioned that once you have a name, you'll also have to have a backup name. Is that because that name has to be approved on the higher community college level, or why the need for a backup?
Yes, so that's a great question. The behind the scenes, anytime you come up with a new name, it's really a trademark that issue, and so you got to go through a process of seeing, well, what other colleges are using that name? Is it trademarked? Is it there are some examples where we think a name is great, and then we suddenly hear that in another country, in another language, that is a totally inappropriate word, and there's some funny examples of that. But sometimes just having another option, so that if you, in the process of going, confirming that name, you find out for some reason it cannot be used, or it's been used somewhere else, or cannot be trademarked, you do need to, you don't want to go through the whole process again. So that's where you got to have something else that you can live with as well.
It's one of those things when I'm working with a client on the social media side, and we're working on, say, a logo development. I never just take them one logo. They have 3 to choose from, so that if one of them is great, but they kind of like something out of this one, you just really should always have something else in your back pocket
In your back
as
pocket.
a safety gap measure.
That's absolutely right. And it is, there is a trademark process that goes on behind the scenes that you just never know until you apply for it. So.
So do you know, you mentioned at the beginning of the show too, that the community college system, there are 23 community colleges in the state of Virginia. Do you know, by chance, are others considering name changes? Were they in a position where they thought what they had was good enough? Do you think we're going to see this across the state from a community college perspective?
Yes. So of the 23, and I think they're all looking at the question as we speak. March was the month that we were asked to get back to the state board. There are at least 2 others that are going through this process right now in the state of Virginia's. And so we're certainly not, I think that's John Tyler and Thomas Nelson. Those 2 colleges are exploring the process as well, I believe. Tyler is a little bit further ahead, and have actually are close to recommending a new name now. So I don't know if any other colleges are where they stand. We have, Northern Virginia Community College, for example, is not going to change their name because they're they're well established. And although I must say parts of our region are a little bit further north than
right.
Virginia.
Yeah.
but all of that aside, that I just say that as flippantly as a joke. But no, there's some colleges that we know are not going to change their names because they adequately describe where they are.
So you're thinking probably by late summer we'll have at least a name to consider. I mean, when do you think all of this will be finalized?
The goal is July. So that at that point at the July meeting, we'd be going to our board would be our local board would be recommending to the state board a new name for their consideration. There are a couple of things that might change that, I think that the timeline that we've seen and the process will get us there.
Can I put you on the spot and see if I can get you to come back? You mentioned earlier there'll be a website, there'll be public input. Can I get you to come back and do another show when that process opens and we can talk about it a little bit more?
I'd love to. Be very happy to.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we are going to wrap up our conversation today with Chris Coots. He is the provost at the Fauquier campus of Lord Fairfax Community College. He is also the vice president of communications and planning. Chris, thanks again for taking some time to meet up with me on the Zoom screen.
Jenna, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
I will be back tomorrow. It is a brand new episode. We're getting a vaccinations update from one of my favorite people on the planet, Dr. Fight. He is the Vice President of Population Health with Valley Health. He's going to tell us what we need to know about vaccines as they are being put in arms across our community. So meet me back here for that chat just a few minutes after noon.